This is a new item, just to make sure in case there's any new, based on last board meeting, we didn't have an item to adopt the agenda, and so we had to add that one item. This allows us an opportunity to be able to do that.
Okay. Do we need to do anything more?
Yeah, you take a motion to adopt the
I'll make a
agenda.
motion, we adopt the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is adopted. Item number 5, period open for the public. If anybody in the audience wishes to address the board on any of the items that are not on the agenda, please feel free to do so now. Item number 6, consent calendar. The public and the board shall have the opportunity to comment on any action items on the consent calendar as the consent calendar is considered collectively by the board of directors prior to action being taken. So do I have a motion to accept the consent calendar?
Make a motion to accept the consent calendar.
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent calendar is approved. Item number 7, new business.
Done.
None? Well, we're going to just roll through this agenda.
Yes, we are.
Item number 8, any items for consideration and possible action.
None this time.
General manager's report, item number 9.
We do have
Great.
that. Okay, we have a couple of items in addition to our standard general manager's report. I'd like to call Jordan Ray up. He's going to give us a presentation with regards to the annual water quality report. This is a report that's done annually by the agency. It's to provide information to the retail customers at this particular time of the year so they can complete their water quality report that they send out to their customers, which is required to be sent out by July 1st of every year. So we thought this would be a good opportunity to provide you with a little background of this information that we've historically provided to all of our retail customers. Jordan.
Good evening. Okay, so tonight I'm going to go over the 2018 annual water quality report with you guys.
Here you go.
Okay, so first off, I just want to give you guys a little bit of background on consumer confidence reports and annual water quality reports. So these are actually two different things. Us as a wholesaler, we are required to do an annual water quality report. Water retailers have to do a consumer confidence report, and these are more in-depth. They require historical data, and also they have to be delivered in multiple languages. So the consumer confidence reports and annual water quality reports were mandated by the 1996 Safe Drinking Water Act amendments. Then lawmakers took these mandates and created the Consumer Confidence Reporting Rule. It took effect August 19, 1998. So AVEK has been doing these annual water quality reports for 20 years now. Like I said before, consumer confidence reports are more in-depth. Water retailers must deliver this information to their customers by July 1st. So here at AVEK, we try and get them out a little bit earlier, usually end of February, early March, so they have time to complete their reports and comply with the rule.
Quick question.
Yes.
Go back to that slide. What are CCRs?
Consumer confidence reports. It's just hard to say over and over again. Okay, so AVEK's annual water quality report. We have to do two separate reports, one for LA County and one for Kern County. LA County's report includes data from the aqueduct, their raw water, also our water bank wells, and then the finished water at Acton, Eastside, and Quartz Hill. The Kern County report includes their raw water, which sometimes includes the agricultural wells, West Side Water Bank, and then we also do Roseman Plant Effluent. One important thing to note from our 2018 report is that there were 0 positive bacteriological samples from the distribution system for the whole year. We also met all state and federal requirements. Another new thing this year was that we were required to test for a chemical. It's called 1,2,3-trichloropropane. It's an agricultural pesticide, and so we were required to do quarterly monitoring for this at all of our raw water sites, including all the wells. All of our data was non-detect for this, and so now we only have to do it annually. Here's a chart of our 2018 quarterly THMs. Every quarter was below the MCL, which is the top green line there. And then the highest locational running annual average was 42, which was well below the MCL of 80. All right, that's all I have for you guys. Do you have any questions?
Could we go back to that prior slide? I didn't get a chance to study. The highest levels of THMs we measured appear to be at Leona Valley.
Yes.
And only for the first quarter. Okay, thank you.
I have a question on that too.
Yeah.
Is that because the water's sitting too long in the tank and Cal Water's not taking the water?
Yeah, I think so. And then you see the lower THMs. What we think happened was we were running water from our East Side Water Bank wells, and then it didn't have time to reach all the way to the end of the distribution system. So it was THM-free water, pretty much.
Well, one more question. This chart appears to apply only to the LA County customers. Do you have
Yes.
one for Kern County?
I don't have one with me, but I could make one and send it out to you guys. Kern County is usually really low too. The data is inside the report in your packets. I don't have a chart though.
Is this an annual report that you're producing?
Yes.
Then shouldn't the Kern County figures be on?
Yes, it's in the final report.
It's
just
in the
not
final
in the
report, we just
presentation.
didn't put it in our
Okay.
I just simplified the
presentation.
presentation.
Okay.
We'll be happy to get that for you.
It's pretty important because sometimes that's where we have our highest levels. The farthest reaches of our water distribution system are in the Kern County section, and that's where THMs tend to grow the highest.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I do. I'm still puzzled. There's gotta be a mechanism. We can't have water purveyors stagnating our water because they don't decide they want to take it because it costs more money. So I want management and staff to look at that because that irritates the heck out of me when we provide, we spend a lot of taxpayers' money to promote the best water available. We do our job, and then it sits in a tank because somebody's being cheap on the other end and doesn't use our water. Because when you use the water the way it's calculated with our agency, is that if it's continually used, we don't have that problem.
Correct. It's the detention time.
Okay, so we need to, that needs to be addressed because we started getting that little bit of problem in Acton treatment plant because the county was doing the same thing and they wanted to spend $400,000 on whirlybirds to put inside the tank. Remember that, John? And you know, and I was on that committee and I said, that ain't gonna happen. Start using the water. So, we need to create some type of formula or some kind of outline, because we're doing our job. And so we gotta figure out, the end user's gotta also do the job too.
And I gotta take the water.
Thanks.
It must cost us more money to treat the water than if they don't take the water and we have to treat for THMs, correct?
If we had, we haven't had to do secondary treatment in the tanks at the present time. But as you can see, if we had a consistent total that was high, like that one month where, that's the first quarter, that's in the, when that period happens, and it's high in that particular period, if that was consistent throughout, we'd have to do other types of treatment methods in order to be able to do that, whether that's superchlorinating the plant, the tank, and getting it to a free chlorine status, and busting ourselves all the way through to really try and wipe that material out.
So what do we do to get the THMs down? Because this was in July timeframe, correct?
Right. It's usually happens when there's the heat has a big process. What we're talking about, some of the treatment processes are aeration, movement of the tank, inlet, outlet valves, other types of things that are available if there isn't a sufficient turnover in the tank. And the easiest solution is to turn the tank over as many times as you can.
That's right, take the water.
Yeah.
And then here's the thing too, and I don't want us to start going in this direction, because the beginning users versus the end users, if you super chlorinate, they're gonna be drinking chlorine.
Right.
They
Well, you don't.
taste of the water versus the person on the other end. And that's a problem when you do the chlorination stations. I mean, you can do all that stuff, but still, they still have to take the water. And what Dwayne just said is, consistently turnover of that water will produce clean water.
That's what
We can't control the heat in the tank.
Right.
But we didn't have to treat anything.
No, you didn't have to, because remember, it's a running average, it's not
Okay.
just one
Yes.
quarter. It's a running average, so if our other 3 quarters are in good range, you're talking about, because remember, this is a cancer risk, so it's like 75 years of consistent exposure in order to have the 1 or 2% chance of cancer risk that you might have from drinking the high THM water. So that's why a 1 high month or 2 high months and low months will, there isn't a significant risk associated with that. So that's why they have a running average as a standard.
And you weren't in charge of that, were you?
No.
I just wondered.
Were you able to find in the report, Director Dias, the information on Kern?
Not yet, but I'm told
This
that
is, the information is not in a graphic form. It's
Right, but
in a-
it's in.
It's
our
in
material.
the
I can find the page number real quick.
Yeah, it's on page 55 of your report packet.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to look at that? Before we finish up, because we have questions.
I believe that staff and management needs to talk to the president and from time to time, is that who reviews the quality of water? Is it Water Rates Committee or is it, who is it? I don't know. But the thing is I think to give direction to, the board needs to give direction how we want to discuss this with the Cal Water Agency, and hopefully they understand what we're trying to discuss with them. If not, then the board needs to talk to their management and say, what's going on here. What worries me here, the reason why this is a hot subject with me, is that we've had a lot of rain this year, the water tables are picking up, and they're also exempt from the groundwater adjudication. So I want to make that for the record, and they get to pump as much water as they want. Okay, so I don't want them doing that because I happen to live in that area too. And I want them to start taking more AVEK water so that the local residents in the area that have wells can have water to their properties. So it's a combination of both, just to be brought up to everybody.
I'd like to make one comment. Dwayne, I thought they had to buy 70% of their water.
That's Waterworks 40. In this particular case, this is the Yonah Valley, California City Water is the primary purveyor in that off that feeder line.
Okay, and so they can.
So they don't have that same requirement.
Well, you can make a motion, and I'll second that.
Do you have any questions?
No, I'm pleased with the results, thanks.
Oh, excellent. Okay, thank you very much for your report. Dwayne, would you like to report on 9?
Yes, matter of fact, Matt Knudsen will provide this report on the High Water Bank Value Engineering Study.
Thank you. I'll just do it from up here, it'll be easier. Good evening. As you know, we went through the value engineering workshop process with a consulting group that we hired called RHA, and Metropolitan was part of that workshop. If you recall, kind of main driver of performing the value engineering workshop was at the request of Metropolitan Water District before they move forward with the next step in their approving the term sheet. So last Wednesday, we completed the workshop on March 6th, and we wanted to give you kind of just high-level highlights of the workshop and the results and the process we went through.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So, this is very interesting. It's the first time I've heard of it. So you're saying that NEC was actually there at this meeting when this was going?
Yeah.
Well, that's really good.
Yeah, they had 2 representatives from their water resource division there participating, and they were very engaged and asked a lot of questions. And you'll see the end result here.
Okay.
Wasn't it one of the supervisors or?
Yeah, it was
Like
one of the managers within the water resource group.
That's good.
So the study team, as I mentioned, consisted of a group of individuals. We had 5 individuals from AVEK there: Dwayne, myself, Justin Lipsey, our engineering manager, John Bozigan from operations, and Pam was there. We had 2 representatives from Metropolitan Water District, James and Kira. We had 2 representatives from Kennedy Jenks, who were proposing to use as our owner's agent for the design and construction of the High Water Bank. And we had like 6 individuals as part of the value engineering team. So RHA reached out to industry experts, hydrologists, geologists, water supply, water resource experts, and they work for different engineering consulting firms, but they were brought in as part of this team to evaluate our project as an unbiased third-party review of the project. So we had quite a group of individuals there. You can see the picture on the right. Went through a process and made a lot of notes. They were all pinned up throughout the conference room, and we referred to those comments throughout the 3-day workshop. So the process started with just a lot of background information. We provided the group all of the engineering studies that the agency previously prepared in advance of the workshop, so they had time to review those documents and come prepared. We spent a good half of the first day just giving an introduction of who AVEK is and what the project is, what the project goals are for AVEK and Metropolitan. And then that led into what they call function analysis, defining what the true function of the project is. And then that stemmed off a lot of creative ideas. So the process here was no idea is a bad idea or a dumb question, so all ideas were thrown out there from the group. Ideas out, kind of got rid of the dumb ideas and focused on the ones that made sense, that we really wanted the group to evaluate. And they went in, then they took probably, a day and a half just themselves, kind of brainstorming, diving into the details of like 9 good ideas that came out. And then at the end of that, then the value engineering team gave a presentation back to the entire group with the results. So we went through that, and I just wanted to highlight again what the project objectives are for the agency, to remind everybody. We're proposing to recharge and recover up to 70,000 acre-feet per year over a 12-month period. Storage capacity of 280,000 acre-feet. Optimize opportunities for future expansion. So that was part of the group's discussion. It's not just looking at the current project, but kind of keeping an open mind as to what it would look like if we wanted to expand the project in the future. We had a 30-year life cycle for the facilities under this first phase. And then Construction is earmarked to be completed by the second quarter of 2022, so roughly 3 years from now. If you recall, there in the term sheet and the project description through CEQA, there's a one-time 10% loss through the recharge process, bring water to this recharge, and it's consistent with AVEK's long-term strategic plan. So the end result, high level.
Can you hold that for a second?
Yeah.
On that slide?
Yeah.
I got one question. On the, okay, so basically, if this is agreed upon, everything we are due, we're looking at 2022, having this thing all completed by then, huh?
Correct. If everything stays on task.
Interesting.
Obviously, we've talked about different components being on earlier, such as the turnout and the piping and recharge basins, where we could start recharging water at an earlier date while the recovery wells are being constructed.
So, and regarding the storage of 280,000 acre feet of water, how soon would that, I know we're recharging, but how soon would the others participate?
The the partners,
Yeah,
oh, they'd be participating from day one. As soon as we have the ability to recharge.
they just can't take it out, but they can put it in.
Correct. Now, they can't take it out until it's in the ground, and then we have the facility to recover.
Okay.
Matt, I had a question.
Yeah.
Will those 28 wells be drilled all to, at that time already?
By the end of by the second quarter of 2022 is what we're proposing. All of the recovery wells will be constructed.
That's 28?
There are 23.4 for this first phase, identified in the project description. So overall constructability results were very favorable. I think the main takeaway from what we heard, obviously we haven't received a final report from the group yet, but based on their presentation and comments received from Metropolitan, everybody sees this as a very favorable project. There's no deal killers or no red flags to where it doesn't make sense to proceed with this project. And we think that Metropolitan Water District received enough information to move forward with approving or presenting the term sheet to their board on April 9th, the first meeting in April. So it's earmarked for their agenda. The representative from Metropolitan was very pleased and felt he had enough information to take back to his management and recommend to the board to approve that term sheet.
Okay.
There was 76 creative ideas coming out of the workshop. 9 of those I mentioned were evaluated in detail, and we also put a cost to those ideas. So we'll see that in the final report. There were 10 what we call design suggestions, just things to kind of big picture things to keep track of while we're going through the design process, so we make sure we incorporate those ideas into the design. And then there were same 24 design comments as incorporating those ideas into the design. So the next steps, we're going to receive a final report from them by the 22nd of March by this group. We're going to present those results to our Water Bank Resources Committee as well as the school board. And then we'll be sure to, based on feedback from the committee and the board, we'll be sure to incorporate those ideas into the final design project construction. So that's all we have, and as we're finishing up the workshop, we looked out the boardroom and beautiful picture.
Wow, that was awesome.
It was a sign that
That's a
this
good sign.
Yeah. That's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Pot of gold is over
Pot of
there?
gold.
Okay.
Yeah, look at the whole, went out of our place and went into the water bank.
So that's all I have, unless there are any questions.
Questions? Excellent presentation, thank you. Item number 10, committee meeting recap.
Ooh,
Oh,
I know you want to get through, but
No.
I still have my normal general.
I'm sorry, there was no number on here or
Yes,
anything, so
yes,
I
yes,
apologize.
we're- Anyway, very good. So, as we can all tell, it's been a very, very wet season for us. There's still a 30% chance of rain and snow showers expected tonight in the Feather River region. And so you can see, you know, we got snow levels are 4,000 to 5,000 feet, and then they'll be rising by the weekend. And then there's a 40% chance of rain by Wednesday. So it's still raining up north. Here's the rainfall chart. You can see that we're about halfway through March, and we're already at 5.1 inches for March. So March is going to meet or exceed its average, with February being very wet and January being fairly wet, and an average November. So we're looking very good, and as you can see, as you go into April and May, even if those are dry, we still have a very good, very good year. Here's the chart that we follow for the aid station, and you can see that this line here is average, and you can see that over the last few months it's just been going way up. So we're at 52.9, which is above average. So even if we had no more rain at all through the balance of the water year that goes all the way to October, we'd still be in excess of average conditions. You can see that it very well could begin to taper off and be in this kind of situation in here fairly soon. With this type of year, as you can imagine, our reservoirs are all full or overfull, as the case may be. You can see that Shasta is above average. This location here, Orville actually got up to its average level, which is 73% of capacity. It just shows you how wet it's been, considering how low the reservoir started the season out. And you can see everybody else is, brimming at the top of their capacity.
I have a question.
Sure.
Go back to that.
Sure.
Go back to San Luis.
Yep.
So basically, are you saying that where's the cutoff for San Luis? Is it 2 million or 3 million acre feet of water is where they consider full?
Yes, that number there is a little over 2 million is
Okay, so that's considered full?
that's considered full.
So this is March. So why haven't they come out and told everybody that they're going to lose their carryover?
Well, some people have, and matter of fact, we got news today that we've lost the carryover too. So most everybody has lost. The report that we received today said, for example, that Metropolitan lost 46,000 acre feet in carryover water, but they're making it up in some cases through Article 21.
And
so
we got the valves all turned on.
we're putting in as much water as we can put
Okay.
into the system.
What do we have? 14,000 carryover?
We started out with about 20,000 acre feet of carryover, but we were able to get some of it out, and then we were able to also get some Article 21 water. It's kind of a weird way that we can do that. So while we may lose carryover water, we get Article 21, which is an addition to, so it kind of replaces it to a certain extent. But for the first few weeks of the Article 21, we were doing pretty well. But this last week has been a tremendous fill. I got another new graph to show you to give you an idea what the outflows like. So here we are. Here's the Lake Orville. You can see we've come up to average in this particular area, so it's been spiking up very nicely. And they'll probably begin to increase the outflow from Orville Dam, depending on how these storms come in the next few weeks. Here's San Luis Reservoir, and you can see that where are we at here? We'll check. I know we're at the top someplace. So we're way up here. right in there. You can see that's where we are. So we're way above where we should be. Good news is snow is, like some years we didn't have much snow, but you can see that the snow in both the northern part, the central part, and the southern part of the Sierras is still well above average, as you can see here. About 161% on the whole amount. And then this is a new graph. I wanted to show you this. Oftentimes you hear about people say, well, we just turned off the pumps, you know, the pumps are taking so much water that otherwise would go out to the ocean to protect the fish. This graph here shows you, this is the water going to the ocean. And this is CFS, which is huge volumes. I don't have it in acre feet, but you can see, here's the pumping. So this is what we pump. So even if you turned off the pumps, the amount of additional flow to that's going out is really not that much. You know, I mean, you're not going to make a significant difference. You know, and so I wanted to provide you with this graphic to give you an idea. I know this is a wet period, but you can see, you know, these outflows here as we're going, and this is the big outflow that caused our.
Well, the salmon, I got a report, the salmon are not there. So is it all going out in the ocean for the whales or for the dolphins? I'm just kind of curious.
I can't tell you which animal they're going for, but I can tell you with certainty that these are the volumes of water that are going out to the ocean.
Freshwater whales.
The salmon are running late this year. I was wondering why.
So you can see that see, even when it was wet, you know, we have a very low amount, and here is a really wet part, and we only get a little bit of increase in flow. So it's just, you know, if you put it on the same scale, you can see the magnitude of what this pumping for south of the delta is versus the outflow. And so just thought you might find that interesting. Okay, let's talk about AVEK water deliveries. Our total current deliveries are about 24 million gallons a day, about 74 acre feet a day. So you can see how that's working.
Mike?
Yes.
Could you go back to that last one? Why is our current flow so much higher, twice last year's flow?
When we get to that, I'll hopefully be able to answer that better in the next part. The Quartz Hill plant is running at 16 million gallons a day. So we have that flowing through.
Especially when everybody's off.
And here's our geopurification. And it's the west side water bank, which is, you can see, is the one that's providing the additional flow. And the east side is just 1.4, so that's the reason why. John, can you come up and talk, let the board know why the west side is flowing like it is?
Well, as far as customer demand, I think that a lot of customers this year, for whatever reason, I couldn't tell you why, are taking more AVEK water right now, and they may this summer rely more on their wells. We've seen it happen in the past. I think it's due to their budgetary constraints, but I can't speak for our customers. I can tell you, when you see, for instance, like the Roseman treatment plant being off, we're supplying North Feeder right now through the west side water bank, through the SNP system, because we're drying out the Roseman plant, the raw water reservoir, and the water recovery basin. The construction sealant is about 35, 40 years old. So we're having that replaced to eliminate some of the leakage that we've had. It takes about a month to dry the plant out. That's why you see that off. But we anticipate overall flows to be higher this year from AVEK than they were last year, for sure.
John, we still have to we still have to run the facility and keep it in working order as
Oh,
well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You might want to explain that.
Yeah, we wouldn't leave the treatment plant off for an extended period of time. We're doing it because it's necessary to dry it out to get this work done, but it'll come right back online.
I'm sorry, I meant the well fields we have.
Oh.
Yeah, because,
Yeah, Frank's correct. You know, these potable wells that we put in are $1 million each. And you can't let a vertical turbine well just sit, as, you know, Gary, you know, that, you know, it's a mechanical piece of equipment when you need it, especially with a potable well. It's been sitting for a year and you haven't run it when you start it up. First thing you get is red water, hydrotreated water, and we can't have that. So what we do is we have all of our potable wells on a rotation, where they run, we try to run every well on like a month and a half or 2 months at the longest cycle this time of year, because there's not that much demand. During the summertime, they'll definitely run more, but, you know, Frank, your point's well taken, that these pieces of equipment have to be run and able to keep them in working condition, good working condition.
There's also a water quality component, and just like if you, as our talk about the Yoder tank, if you let the water sit on a portable water line for a long period of time and don't move that water through, you're going to have water quality problems associated with that line too. So there's a minimum of 2 to 3 million gallons a day that are going to have to go through to keep the line fresh and give good quality water to all of our customers.
Yeah, that's a great point. And piggybacking what Dwayne said, the State Water Resource Control Board, which used to be the health department, requires us to test these wells on a regular basis. And Jordan does a very good job of letting us know what that schedule is, so that we can run those wells, not only to maintain them, but to get those water quality samples in a timely fashion.
Those wells, the piping, is it standard material?
The piping, the casing for the well is carbon steel. The column is epoxy coated, fusion bonded epoxy coated steel, but it's mortar lining coated.
So is there ever any bleaching from the piping if it sits?
No, what you will see, Marlon, in distribution systems, if you let mortar line pipe sit for too long of a time, the concrete lining will cause the pH of the water to rise, which you don't want to have happen, because then you can become, you know, corrosive and so forth. So we have seen that in lines that have sat for a long time. That's why we try to keep everything moving, and it does take customer cooperation to accomplish that. Other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, from you can see that we're right now we're storing approximately 144 acre feet a day to the two facilities, both the east side and the west side water bank. Here's the new graph for you to represent the actual water taken by our customers versus what they requested.
Excellent.
And so you can see they requested about twice as much as they've actually taken, even though they're taking more water than they took last year. You can see that there's going to be some excess water supply. So when the agency makes a decision as to how much to bank versus how much that may be available for other uses, we'll be able to take this into account. Water quality, the lab received C-Lab certification renewal. Our bromide levels are low, and our quarterly pH samples were well below the internal goal of 64 parts per billion. A little bit of a legislative update. I want to keep you apprised of the Newsom administration budget trailer bill. This is the bill, if you remember, would create the state-managed safe drinking water fund with fees on water, fertilizer, and dairies. It continuing to monitor for changes. There's been a lot of opposition to this bill from the water industry. And there's been an alternative that's been put into the hopper, and it's SB 669. That bill was introduced by Senator Caballero. At the end of February, this would create in the state treasury a trust fund to help community systems with disadvantaged communities with their same drinking water needs. The difference between the two processes is this would be funded by the general fund dollars during a state budget surplus year and administered by the State Water Resources Control Board. The biggest difference here is one is you get your revenue source from water and fertilizers and berries. The other is that you get the money from the fund per se from the general fund as opposed to directly from water providers. So those are two alternatives. Any other questions? I can tell you're waiting.
He doesn't want to get started.
Okay. The next bill I wanted to highlight for you is Senate Bill 1. It's the California Environmental, Public Health, and Workers' Defense Act of 2019. And in essence, what this act would do would make current federal clean water, climate, clean air, work safety, endangered species standards enforceable under state law. So if the Trump administration were to reduce those requirements, the state would revert back to before those requirements were reduced and enforce the more stricter requirements than the relaxed requirements.
There's a problem with that because someone just told the governor, that's fine, your federal funding cut back.
Well, that's true.
There's a lot of money, and all they keep on doing is throwing out public health and clean water as really as a decoy to steal the money from there for their personal gain of environmental agenda. That's what it's all about. It's robbing money from Peter to pay Paul for their project. They keep on throwing these things out there. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy.
So this, this particular Senate bill is working its way through, and it's receiving a lot of opposition from, many of the water agencies that would benefit from less restrictive environmental regulations.
They're talking the way they're going right now. If they don't stop, that within 3 years, the wholesale water rate to us could be at 50%.
Could be that way depending on how things are going.
No, the reason why it doesn't have to go to the voters.
I think we need to take a look at this as a board and see if we want to send a letter of opposition to our representative.
So what happens is then we get a 50% increase in our wholesale water rate, we pass it on to our retailers, and then they blame us that we're the ones that did this.
Right.
I mean, how do you stop it?
Yeah,
I mean,
I know you're saying a rhetorical question. You don't expect me to give you an answer, but
Yeah, but we can voice our
I'm on
displeasure.
record knowing that I
Yeah.
identified it
Yeah.
and recognized that this is a serious problem.
Yes.
it is.
We'll have a committee take a look at it.
Cool. How do I do that? Let's see. That's the next one? Yeah. Okay, I want to make sure I got this right. Oh, and just to add, another thing that came out today is President Trump signed a significant conservation of public lands bill that includes the establishment of the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta as California's first natural heritage area. This was a federal bill sponsored by Congressman Garamendi and Senator Dianne Feinstein. They've long tried to get this protection, for the Delta, and the Delta Stewardship Council is applauding it as being a positive step forward. I just want to make you aware that this types of things are occurring, and there's nothing we can do about it per se, but I just want to make you aware that there was a new, when you make a national heritage area, the next thing is now you have to protect it, and there's a new set of rules, a new set of guidelines, a new set of things that'll come out shortly.
They just announced this today.
Yes.
So I started thinking, when I saw John, Diane, and President Trump all agreed on one thing together, does that mean he's gonna get federal funding for his wall?
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm going,
Yeah.
where did this chess game come up with?
Yeah.
What does this piece fit?
Yeah, does this fit in the whole mix?
Yeah.
And also there's, FEMA approved a $205 million for the Orville Dam spillway repairs, so that's about $334 million of the total of about $1 billion. And $306 million of the costs were declared ineligible for reimbursement. DWR plans to appeal that decision, and the state water contractors issued a response in support of DWR on that. So all the money that that FEMA doesn't grant the state means that that's likely going to be coming from the state water contractors through their bills. So that's the financial obligation, that we will have a small portion of that. Okay, the last item is PG&E announced Chapter 11 reorganization, and that should have a trickle-down effect if PG&E defaults on its California independent system operator payments. Could cause financial shortfalls in the independent operator. And then if there's insufficient funds to cover those unpaid obligations and the collateral is not sufficient to default, under the ISO tariff provisions, other Cal ISO participants are obligated to pay, and one of the largest Cal ISO company or customers is the state water contractors. So we'll have an impact associated with this.
So that's a second hit to the state water project.
Yeah, exactly. Just,
I was gonna say it's a good thing we're not in their area, but I knew there was a catch because you have it on there.
yes,
There was.
exactly. Yeah.
So the state water project is supposed to pick up the obligation of something else that happened.
Yeah, in other words, it's the trickle-down effect. You know, you'd say, well, they're going to go bankrupt, and so it doesn't have any effect. Well, you can see it does have a lot of effects for a lot of different people. So just some status and updates. We had the Water Master meeting on March 27th, 2019. The California Water Policy Conference is in San Diego. The Design Build Conference is in Cincinnati, Ohio. And the Aqua Spring Conference is in Monterey. And next week I'll be in Sacramento to hear the latest and greatest wonderful news from the state water contractors, and be able to report to the next board meeting on that.
Are you going to any of these conferences?
The Design Build Conference.
Perfect.
That's my report.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? I would just like to commend you, Dwayne, for presenting us information that's relevant and happening today. That's
Great.
extra effort on your part, and I appreciate it. Okay, item number 10. Moving on, committee meeting recap report for informational purposes only. Do we have any?
No.
Do any of the directors have anything to report?
I wonder if we have something that I want staff to look at. About noon today, there's an investigation the LA Times did an investigation on San Clemente about lobbyists and how they've been taking advantage of public agencies and tens of millions of dollars on things that they hire for, and they have actually, the LA Times has traced it to these people getting paid $200 an hour to read a newspaper to see what the comments are. And they're not getting anything regarding grants or anything like that. And I don't know where that's gonna go, but we need to make sure that we're not going down the same path. Their whole thing would have to do with that bypass toll road they were supposed to put in. And now they're finding out that they spent $8 million and nothing is gonna happen. So I just want to bring that up to our staff to make sure, you know, we're on, when we hire these people, they're actually gonna do something for us.
Happy to look into that.
They don't call them lobbyists anymore.
Yeah.
They had another term for them, you know.
I see.
Okay, anyone else?
Item number 12, attorney report. Item number 13, old business, closed session. Do we have any items for closed session tonight?
Yes, we have 3 items, items C, D, and E.
Okay, do I have a motion to go into closed session?
I'll say.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We will now go into closed session in 5 minutes.